Hello again to the people on YouTube. Today I wanted to film another video. I've just been thinking about it a lot and not really doing anything about it. Seems to be a common pattern, but there has been a lot of schoolwork recently, a lot of projects coming up, a lot of tests, so it's been kind of pushed onto the back burner like it always has been. So today, it's a Saturday, a lot of my friends are at the bar right now telling me to come out, but I don't feel like it. I've been drinking all week, honestly, so probably should not make it into a 5-day bender. So today, staying in and ideally doing something productive. So what will today's video be? This will be on a paper that I wrote for my creative writing class. So another rhetorical recitation today. This one is a creative nonfiction piece that I wrote. I honestly think is probably one of the best things that I've ever written. One of the better things that I've produced, let's say. I didn't put a whole lot of time into it, probably could be reread and revised and edited fully, but I do really like at least the ideas that are in this paper. So, without further ado, let's get into this week's rhetorical recitation, and this paper is titled Contemplations. So I titled this Contemplations as kind of a play on Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which I have yet to read, but I do really like Stoicism and that idea, so we have Contemplations. And it starts with part 1, titled The Chase. I have a newfound ambition to conquer, and I am not sure which direction it is currently pointed. It seems to be pointed in all directions. I want to be the best at everything, but realistically there is not enough time in a lifetime to allow that to happen. One of Jordan Peterson's rules is imagine who you could be, then aim single-mindedly at that. In an in-class assignment, I brainstormed 6 ways that I could take steps to continue down the path that I am gazing upon. The 2 that are most applicable to dissect in a creative writing exercise are as follows. Imagine myself 5 years into the future and ask, what do I want? Who do I want to know? 2. Reflect as often as possible. Am I in the right place? If not, how can I get there? Remember what I'm grateful for, but have high ambition and subordinate myself to a higher good. What am I doing all of this for? What is my why? This essay will certainly pose more questions than answers, which I think are more important than only answers in some way. So who do I want to be in 5 years? I'll be 26 years old, driving the same car that I drive now, and if that one dies, which is likely, I'll likely be driving a hand-me-down from my parents. I don't want to spend my money on a new car until I have the funds to buy something that I truly want, like a Tesla or a Mercedes or something along those lines. I'll be living somewhere in the North Loop in a modest but well-dressed apartment. I won't be spending money like crazy, but I won't be exempting myself from life's pleasures and luxuries. So what do I want? I will have a well-developed social life, but balanced with my workload. In some sense, I want my social life to be my workload. It will be balanced with my alone time, which will be spent either at the gym, a fitness class, or a master class of some other interest. Maybe boxing, maybe cooking. I will be financially stable. I will be in good shape, the best shape that I have been in my entire life. I do not care where I'm working. Whatever my profession, I will work diligently to become respected amongst my coworkers, and I will strive to do what feels right for me, even if that means switching careers. Similar to my internship at Hubbard Broadcasting as a freshman, I will become the golden standard of employees. However, I will negotiate my salary and know how much my work is worth. So who do I want to know? I'll have a mentor. someone who is in a position that I would like to follow. There is not a specific person that stands out, but I know the qualities of a person who I would like to associate myself with. Honorable, respected, strong, relentlessly hardworking, wealthy, overflowing with experience, overflowing with aura. They will be spilling it everywhere they go, and I will be there to mop it up. Eventually, maybe 25 years down the line, I'd have enough to do the same for someone else. It is not a specific person that I wish to meet, but rather a combination of characteristics that I wish to absorb. Maybe these characteristics will be scattered amongst many different mentors. Reflect as often as possible. Last semester was very difficult, not because of school or because of others, but because of the way that I would constantly get in my own way. My mind was lackluster and out of control. Terrible thoughts possessed me. No longer is that the case, and I now feel as if I am in the right place at the right time. I am doing everything I can to take opportunities and make mistakes. I may be a bit overloaded at the moment, but I would rather this be the case than have nothing to pursue. I am grateful for every opportunity and every heartbreak, and I realize that there is so much to learn from seemingly unbearable pain. I realize that there is often so much to gain by letting go. I'm not certain on my relationship with religion, but I am quite adamant about the existence of spirituality. There is a higher purpose, a higher ideal, or a higher something. Maybe it is a God. I don't know. I probably never will, but it helps me orient myself. So what exactly is my why? I suppose it is in relation to my fears. My greatest fear is to be looking back over my life with no profound stories to tell, no legacy to leave behind, no family to provide for, no sense of accomplishment. All of this said, I don't necessarily fear death. If I were to die tomorrow, I would be proud of the relationships that I have fostered thus far. However, there is so much out there to see, so much to do, so much pain to endure, hardships to overcome, struggle to struggle through, but also awe to experience, and pleasure and joy to be captured, even if it is in a fleeting memory. We don't know the highest capabilities of human achievement, so why not chase them? So that is part 1, titled The Chase. And I'll do a reflection kind of on all of it and the whole piece at the end, but right now let's get into part 2, which is titled Abstraction. Abstraction. Words are not supposed to be forced out of the mind, but rather have a turbulent flow. Turbulent flow is very curious. It is unique. It is efficient, yet entropic. It is a pattern that is represented at all scales of life, whether it is simple and obvious, like a splash of food coloring in a glass of water, or more complex, like the swirls of wind miles above our heads. Even larger, it exists on a cosmic scale. Turbulence is nature's creativity. It lives inside and outside every one of us. Why the obsession with this concept? Because it is unpredictable, interesting, and keeps people on the edge of their seat. It walks the line between chaos and order. Similar to writing and thinking, turbulent flow can go anywhere. It creates little swirls, or eddies to be scientifically correct. These eddies are created from friction from an outside object passing through that fluid, or even from interactions amongst its own substance. It is the same concept as an idea being placed in or originally forming in an open mind. Sometimes an idea can latch on, a swirl can grow, a hurricane of order and direction can form. A hurricane is a beautiful and temporarily unstoppable force formed from the incalculable chaos of the winds. An idea can be beautiful and unstoppable as well. Formed from the incalculable, chaotic, and infinite possibilities of ideas, sometimes one can latch on. It can make a difference. Oftentimes, if there is too much traction for an idea, it can become tyrannical. it can become overly influential and turn destructive. At this point, it becomes unstable in its originally orderly configuration, breaks down, and is reduced to its past. Reduced to a memory. Not only does this occur on the surface of our planet and the depths of our minds, but also on a galactic scale. Impossibly large clouds of the purest substances slowly churn until there is enough of it in one place to converge. Gravity takes hold, and something unlikely occurs. A star forms within a galaxy, which was brought together using the same anti-entropic principles as the star itself. Eventually, even a star dies. The biggest die the fastest and the most spectacularly. On their last breath, these stars explode in a tyrannical supernova. Their energy is converted back into chaos in search of order once again. It is the smaller and the more controlled stars that will live the longest. Although we cannot compare our physical size with the stars in the galactic scale, to some degree we compete on the same stage, abiding by the same principles. Live fast and die young, or become a steady and long-lasting form of light. Our time frame may be more compressed as individuals, but we can use the same anti-entropic spiral of good ideas to advance nonetheless. This paper is a perfect example of a swirling idea with no predetermined destination. There is no end, as it is simply an addition to a conversation that will endlessly spiral and shift into the ether. However, it is more than likely that this will just be swept into the currents to dissipate amongst the other endless conversations. Impossible to predict, it is life. It is turbulence in the pursuit of generating its own gravity, even if it may only be temporary. So that was part 2, abstraction, and now we move on to part 3, which is titled Dragons. Dragons. Big ideas mean nothing if they are not applicable. They remain simply ideas swirling whimsically amid the chaos. How can an idea be applied? How can it live? If relentlessly spoken about, an idea can awaken. It can become a story. There are endless stories, as one can be told about literally anything. However, there are certain stories that are gripping. Certain stories that have been told countless times with the same principles embedded within them that govern the highest possible ideal. The same story is told over and over, and it is one that humanity cannot escape. It is the same story of a knight in shining armor heading into the mouth of a mountain to face the inevitable dragon who is guarding the gold. It is the tale of uncertainty and fear being overcome to bear order and stability. It is the tale of adventure and pursuit of the unknown despite the terrifying reality of the truth. It is turbulence in the pursuit of gravity. Entropy being confronted and reversed despite the unlikelihood of success. Despite its multiple facades, this story is what has grounded the reality that we live in. Quick interlude. This is Jack. He'll be joining us for the rest of the video.
I'm Jack.
And he will just be chilling there. Unless he really wants to say something, then go ahead and say it. But
oh, I saw this quote the other day.
Oh yeah, what did it say?
And it was wait, let me think of it, and then once you're done talking,
okay.
But it's actually really good.
All right, sounds good. And then we will continue with part 2, where I left off. Despite its multiple facades, this story is what has grounded reality, the reality that we live in. From the caveman who needed to hunt down a terrifying beast in the spirit of keeping his family alive, to the Silicon Valley startup that nearly goes bankrupt in the spirit of improving the lives of millions, to the star that is forming unconsciously, or is it, in the spirit of harnessing and providing energy. The same story is told across time, on all scales. So where does Luke Rexing fall? He is simultaneously the reader and the narrator of this grand story. A 21-year-old student unsure of the path that he gazes upon. He watches the minutes tick by and the pages of the calendar being torn away. He watches the people, the places, and the mirror with careful precision. Where is there opportunity for positive change? There is danger in every direction, but there is possibility ahead, so he takes a step forward. He realizes that facing the dragon is the only way. Even if he loses a battle, there is no reason to stay defeated. If he takes a wrong step, even to the smallest degree, he will forgive himself and prepare for the next time that he is faced with a similarly sized beast, because there is nothing better to do. What is the dragon confronting him at the moment? Or better said, which dragon is he confronting? There are multiple, varying in size. A finance test on Tuesday. What is he equipped with? 2 days of training and a dull understanding of his opponent. Maybe he should have spent more time sharpening his blade with the blacksmith. The answer will come on Tuesday. What other beasts lie ahead for Sir Rex-a-Lot? Career exploration is certainly an uncertainty. Which armaments will provide him with the confidence for this long journey? A unique background of entrepreneurship, fashioned from his experience as an apprentice under his mother's operations. A keen eye for opportunity, forged by the fires of his father's diligence for detail. An infantry of his closest companions fighting alongside him, offering insights and clearing new pathways that would have otherwise remained in the fog. And what of a fair maiden? He is scarred from these battles. He wondered why his wounds would never heal, while concurrently intentionally opening them back up. A hopeless romantic. The latest battle cut very deep and required healing, for it could have been incurable if not sewn shut. But it is healed. He learned to let himself mend. He realized that the fair maiden would not come to him if he had nothing to offer. This rationale marked the beginning of his odyssey, but it no longer remains his reason for hereafter endeavors and escapades. He no longer fights for acceptance. He no longer fights to stand out. He no longer fights to please. So what does he fight for? I fight for strength, both mentally and physically. I fight for myself, 5 years into the future. I fight for merited respect and prestige. I fight for my words to carry meaning. I fight for the name of my family. I fight for the stars. And I fight for the story. I am back. It is now the next day. I got a bit caught up with all those boys last night. Ended up going out for a little bit. That's how it goes. But I'm back today to finish out this video and do a little bit more of a brief reflection on kind of what my thought process was behind each one of these parts. Part 1, the chase. Part 2, abstractions. And Part 3, dragons. So, we'll start with the first one, the chase. So why is it titled The Chase? And what exactly is this section based off of? It's kind of my grounds, where my head is at currently, and where my head is at currently when I'm looking at the future. Like, where do I want to be? Obviously, that's kind of what that first part addresses, but I remember some of the feedback in the comments that my professor gave me, and she mentioned that it sounded a bit, I don't want to say, there was a bit of bravado, and it seems a bit out there, and very ambitious, and arrogant. That's the word I'm looking for. She said it sounds a little bit arrogant, which I can understand. It's definitely like I'm reaching for, and I have these ideas of like the people that I want to meet, and they're all, I don't know, like buying a Tesla or a Mercedes, and it's like these big ideas, and it's like, oh, this is where I'm going to be in 5 years, and I don't care who has anything to say about it. And to some degree, that is kind of true. I mean, I have high ambitions for myself, and maybe those ambitions will change over the next few years, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to change the height of them. I still want to aim high, miss high. So I think it's kind of where I want to be pointed, and it's focused on what I want to achieve in the future, where I want to be, and the things that I want to chase after. So that is why it's titled The Chase. The second part, I remember I was writing this in a Starbucks. It's titled Abstraction, and it's kind of about big ideas, but the first sentence, which is, words are not supposed to be forced out of the mind, but rather have a turbulent flow. I remember sitting there in the Starbucks thinking, what exactly do I want the second part of this paper to even be? And I was super confused and kind of misguided because I thought there needed to be like a destination for the paper. But I kind of just started writing, and the idea of turbulent flow really stuck with me, and I kind of went with it and just literally go with the flow and was writing about turbulent flow. So I find this one, I think, and my instructor, my professor, also believed that this was some of my better writing. And it basically combines all of these ideas that exist on large scales, small scales, but also metaphysically, because there's gravity, there's turbulence, and I mentioned that turbulence is like nature's creativity, because I mean, you think about a cloud. No two clouds are the same, or like I mentioned, like a splash of food coloring in a glass of water. It literally goes anywhere, and it just kind of flows. It's difficult to explain exactly where my head is at this in regards to this idea, because it's very turbulent. But like these swirls of ideas, and like these, like a cloud coming in and just like appearing and forming and then dissipating, but then also like the idea of hurricanes and like a lot of ideas forming as one and working as one big entity, and then eventually dying out and leaving behind them nothing but a memory. Like that encompasses kind of what an idea is to me, and it's interesting to compare it with like gravity as well, because gravity and like a star forming or something like this is seemingly highly unlikely because of entropy. Like entropy is things getting disorganized over time and things kind of going back to evenly dispersed energy. But there's anti-entropic things like stars, anything relating to gravity that pulls everything together into one place, all of this energy into one place. And that's what a good idea does. It pulls all of these people, maybe it's the energy from people, maybe it's literally physical energy like from electricity or anything like that, but it pulls energy into one place. And that is a super interesting concept to me. And the same with the idea with like the biggest stars dying the fastest. Live fast, die young. It's a pattern that you see all the time. And I think comparing turbulence to idea formation as well as gravity and incorporating entropy, I don't know. It was fun for me to kind of play with these ideas and see where the turbulent flow of ideas would take me. And it kind of took me to nowhere. And it took me to just adding to the conversation and just seeing what would happen if I let my ideas do their own thing. So that was kind of the point of the second part, abstraction, because it was very abstract, very metaphysical, but also tying it into physical things and really leading to nowhere and just adding to the conversation. And that's kind of the point of it. And I kind of love it for that. So that's the second part, abstraction. Now we will move on to a little bit of reflection of the last part, dragons. So this last part, dragons, kind of ties together a bit of the first and the second, in that big ideas mean nothing if they are not applicable. And like thinking very metaphysically and at that very abstract level really doesn't mean anything unless you can apply it to something. And I wanted to apply thinking that way to my everyday life and to the aspirations that I have that I mentioned in the first part. And then I kind of worked it into the idea of stories, and I titled it Dragons because Jordan Peterson talks a lot about stories. I watched Dragons, Monsters, and Men, fantastic series, and I kind of wanted to tie myself into the story or the archetype of that knight in shining armor. What am I going to do with my life? I have no idea what beasts I'm staring at, and I know things are going to be difficult, but I still want to take a step forward and at least try. And I kind of liked where it took me. I didn't expect to be writing in third person when I started writing this section, but it just kind of, that's where the writing took me, and I really enjoyed it. And it kind of ended up being a bit more poetic at the end. But like, I tie it in, I fight for the name of my family, I fight for the stars, and like the anti-entropic principles that I was talking about in abstractions. But also, I fight for the story because I want to leave a legacy. I want something to leave behind, and that's partially the reasons why I'm creating videos like this. So that's kind of the third part, ties it all a little bit together, but still remains very abstract, really no rhyme or reason to it. I just really liked writing this creative nonfiction piece, and I hope you enjoyed listening, and I will continue to do more of these rhetorical recitations in the future because I have a lot of pieces that I've written and I want to talk about them. So no better person to talk to about it than the people behind this camera. So if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed. Consider subscribing, liking the video, and leave a comment if you'd like to add to the turbulence of ideas. And I will see you in the next one.